How's everybody's week going? Short week. It always feels the days always fall off to me. I had to double check that it was Thursday. All right, let me drop these links real quick for everybody else who's watching on Facebook if they want to join us live and start it. Everybody's quiet today, so no questions today. Right. I think we are good to go. Let me drop this link. Somebody's asking for it real quick. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about some red flags as trying to find some client, um, and what all to kind of look for and those types of things. Sherry, I know you had some good stories you wanted to share on this topic.
You might have to remind me. Nothing comes to mind.
Oh, I'm not sure. You said you had a discussion with the Tuesday call on some red flags to pay attention to. Um, Whenever they were looking for potential clients and cleanup jobs and stuff like that.
Just out of the normal. I think we also had a conversation a while back on just red flags like spam for potential clients. But that was like getting entangled into like spams and stuff like that. So totally different topic. But yeah, game for today. So red flags with like current clients, like with them scope creeping or something,
Yeah,
or like
any
what
of the
sorts?
yep, any other things, potentials, looking out for, um, just like them pushing the boundaries in the beginning, things along those lines.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing is, they don't know what you offer. They don't know what it means to do bookkeeping with you. And that's where it becomes on you as the bookkeeper to really enforce your engagement letter and not just assume that they're trying to take advantage of you or like they don't know. They just don't know at the end of the day. What you offer, what you're up to. So, they're like, oh, hey, bookkeeping, that's going to take some admin off my plate. So now I don't have to send invoices. Well, if you're not engaged to do invoices, then it's just a simple email. Like we get bookkeepers who come to us like in panic. Oh my gosh, they're scope creeping and just like instant freak out when they just didn't the client didn't know better. And so it's just a simple, hey, we're currently not engaged to send invoices on your behalf via QuickBooks Online or whatever software you're using. Um, but um this is what it would look like for us to do invoices for you. So a lot of times it's just communicating. I think sometimes we just assume that people understand what our engagement letters mean, what it means to do bookkeeping, and what it looks like to work with us. And so, especially at the beginning, over communicate what you do and what you don't do, and give grace for questions. Like most 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 business owners don't know what you do. So, okay. So that's gonna be the biggest thing. Just communicating all around for all of that. Let me um and a client can only drain you dry if you let them, right? So if a plumber comes to you and gives you a quote on a bathroom issue, plumbing issue, and they start the project and they give you a quote, it's gonna be 2,500. Guys, I'm not a plumber. It's gonna be 2,500 to just solve this like interior to the house problem. So that it's visible. They don't have to get into the wall. Let's call it 2,500. Well, they get into the pipe, and as they're replacing it, they're like, oh, hey, we have to open up this wall. We need to, the leak's actually coming on the other side of the wall. And, they're showing you the flashlight. Here's why we can see this. Here's what's going on. Well, they're not going to do any more work. They're not going to start opening up the wall for that same 2,500 quote. They're going to come back to you and say, well, what do you want us to do? Here are your options. They're not going to do the work first. And a lot of bookkeepers will do the work first. So they can only drain you dry if you let them. Because a lot of you guys will come to us and you're like, oh, well, it won't take that long. Or it's just a couple of months, or I already gave them a really expensive quote, or whatever it is, whatever reason, where you're not charging for the work. And there are always exceptions where, but and when I say exceptions, like just be very clear and standardize your exceptions. So for example, one of my exceptions for my clients in quoting is if they have like a money market account that's like under 10 transactions and it takes less than 10 minutes to do type of money market account. Like, and I mean really under like 5 transactions, there's like interest and we're pulling the statement and we have like access to the statement, right? We're not going to increase the quote for that, especially if it came up after it's so we have expectations around those graces, right? So like we can be very clear on what we will allow and won't allow as far as scope creep goes. But yeah, only clients will only drain you dry if you let them. So that's okay, but if you now, if you fail to communicate, you will get burned out in the business. And getting burned out, getting overwhelmed, taking on more work than you can do, that will definitely make it harder to show up more confident. I was listening to something over the weekend, and part of confidence is just how you're living your life in terms of, have you made your bed? Do you have a closet full of dirty laundry that you need to do, right? Like that actually stays in the back of your mind. Like I'm showing up, I'm telling you I'm going to stay on top of your books, but I can't stay on top of my laundry, right? Just little stuff like that. Those things are going to take your confidence. But if you're showing up to a call and you're like, I can't even keep up with this client who I way underquoted, um, that's going to rob you of being present in that call as well. And then, saying no when we go using that invoice example. I just gave you an example of how to say no confidently. Hey, we're not engaged to, the service tier that you signed up with us for does not include invoices. Um, we would be happy to. Here's what it looks like for us to send this invoice. If you would like, here's option one. I can get on a strategy call with you and help you set it up. And so you're getting paid to set up, or you can just charge her for setup and or her for setup. So there's three options. One, strategy call. Let me help you click the button so you know how to send invoices and do it. I'm going to train you how to do it. I'm going to set up your template, etc. Or you can do that on your own without them being on the call. Option three is here's what it looks like to send invoices on your behalf. And you'll need to know roughly how many, or you're going to charge per invoice. So you can do invoice tiers like 1 to 25 a month, whatever tiers you want to set up there. But then it's just going back to the client and communicating to them how you can make it a yes. Okay. So it's a no, not right now, but here's the options where I can make it a yes. We're always going to give them a yes. And that 100% of the time is going to avoid burning bridges. We talked about last time at the end of the call, Go Giver, and that's one of the books that Megan is going through in the mindset call. And it's a book I've talked about in the course and on here as well. We always want to be serving the client selflessly. Selflessly does not mean incurring, if you're the plumber, $5,000 in construction material before I even go back to the client and say, hey, it's going to cost you $10,000. They're like, no, this is out of budget. Can we fix it somehow with the 2,500? Right? That's not serving well. Serving well is going back to the client and saying, hey, the scope just changed. Here's what we found. Here's your options on how to go about correcting it. Okay. And then you'll avoid burning bridges that way. As far as attracting the right kind of clients who respect your time and boundaries, this starts with how you show up just in your business. It's going to start internally with you, your confidence, your authority, your excitement for what you do or in your life. So your excitement in your life flows into, it's going to be a part of showing up confidently in your business. And all of that attracts the right types of clients. I have noticed I have two different audiences and they attract different clients. And so if you can show up as providing good information, answering people's questions, if you can show up as the confident expert authority on the subject, you will attract clients who respect your time and boundaries. If you show up as just, I do cheap bookkeeping, you're going to attract cheap bookkeeping. Okay. What red flag from a potential client should you look out for? The first question is, how much do you charge? I mean, if they're leading with price, most of my best clients, when we get to price, they're mainly asking, can you solve my problem? And then they're typically saying, I'm not that worried about the price. They don't want to be walked all over. But as long as the price is reasonable for the solution you solve and what they need, you'll be fine. What will you be doing? It should be clearly outlined in the engagement letter. That doesn't mean clients read it thoroughly or understand it. So I have a couple of sections to my engagement letter. So I have all the terms and conditions. And then I have like a section that just shows you're signed up for monthly bookkeeping, 1, 2, 3. This is what that entails. But even then it does down in the terms and conditions, I think it says we anticipate financials being sent out around the 20th, give or take. Um, so I add all the extras and stuff like that. If there are terms to those extras, those get put in like an additional term section that automatically gets created at the bottom. But it should be clearly outlined in whatever you're giving them, whether it's proposal, engagement letter with a summary, like a services selected option. Um, yeah, obviously you don't add little extras for free. Um, yeah. Okay, hopefully that answered both of those. Um, all right, have any of you guys ever taken on a client that have regretted it? Or like, do you want to talk through why you might regret it, or if there's any way to like fix it going forward? Michelle, I know I know you and I have talked about that. Um, but especially if you guys have questions on, hey, I've got this client, here's what's going on. Is there any way to redeem this situation, redeem how this communication has happened? Feel free to ask those questions. But as far as red flags, you know, you're going to prevent people from getting on your discovery calls that are bad fits if you weed them out in your marketing. So, like, call them out. If you don't want clients doing 50,000 a year, right? Like on Etsy and have 1,000 transactions a month because they're selling $1, $2 items, plus there's fees, plus there's shippings, plus, there's all of these things. Call that out. We serve clients doing 500,000 plus. We're not for the client doing 50,000 a year. Here's why. If you're doing 50,000 a year, here's this service that we offer, but this is not for you. This will be for you when you're at 250,000 a year or more. Right? So call them out. Call out what you're looking for and who you're looking to serve. And that's when we get really clear on, are we serving John, who has he's a real estate appraiser. He's private. He's not with the brokerage. He's got 300,000 a year. What is that that we're calling out? Sometimes, yeah, if communicate, like if the scope doesn't get identified on both parties' side quick enough, ultimately that's why you're gonna let a client go, or they're gonna let you go. Is there's some sort of disagreement on the value, what money's being paid for the service being given or received, right? And they can be paying you $3,000 a month, and they think they're overpaying you because they expect all of this admin.
Okay, not sure what happened. Oh, there she is. All right, I think that was all the questions that were in the chat so far. So if anybody else has any, feel free to drop them. You're muted, Sherry.
I was gonna say, so to ooh, Cameron, I want to answer this question because I wanted to answer it last time. But we ran out of time. Um, to help eliminate like red flags, I think it first starts with you. So red flags around like signing clients that are going to like not be a good fit for you would be getting really clear on what you charge, why you charge it, and who is a good fit for you. So the onus is actually more on you than it is the clients. You should be talking to a lot of people. Not everyone's going to be a good fit for you. If you are hanging on to, I've only gotten one discovery call this week, I really need them to sign, you're not really in control of your marketing or your business, right? So then we have a marketing problem, not like a potential red flag client problem. So what you can do as the owner of your life and your business would be get really clear. What are you charging? How? Are you using a pricing calculator like we have in the Bookkeeper Blueprint? Do you have questions that you standardize? Do you know what type of revenue you're looking a client to have? Are you only working with single member LLCs? Are you okay with S corps? Are you only working with people who should become an S corp or are an S corp? Do you work with C corps? And then what do you offer? Megan and I have had bookkeepers come through the Bookkeeper Blueprint that never offer, or have done one-to-ones with us or worked with us in some form, who never offer any additional services, no sales tax, no anything but um, bookkeeping. So if you don't want to do bill pay, if you don't want to do AR, you don't have to. Okay. But getting really clear on that is going to save you from the headache later. Okay. Let me know if that prompted any questions from you guys on red flags, or if there was anything that you felt like we just didn't cover on red flags that you got on and we're hoping we would answer and go into more detail for. And we can dive into that. Cameron's asking, how long do you spend on lead magnets? How do you get lead magnet ideas? I would not do a lead magnet until you're exceptionally clear on who it is you serve. So until you've talked to, like, if you've done the market research and have talked to 100 people and you know exactly what they need, don't do a lead magnet. The goal of a lead magnet is not to just go create something pretty and hope you get emails. Your lead magnet should be something people are asking for already, innately. You guys always ask us for our pricing calculator. We turned it into a lead magnet. We did a whole pricing training around that. And I created a pretty in-depth like lead magnet for that. But lead magnets can take like 30 minutes. The one I did that was really in-depth. Megan, how long did that take? That took a couple of hours. But it was a big lead magnet. It wasn't just like a one page, like 5 things.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
part of it for us is how it's set up, like because the website and stuff. So if you're just emailing something over, or depending on your system, it could be. And that was like the first one. So it was kind of getting that system set up.
but yeah, it wasn't the first lead magnet. We implemented a secondary process that took long. Well, not we didn't even do it with that particular lead magnet because that was the one we sent to Cameron's people. I think we did some of the other stuff after. Um, but as far as creating the actual lead magnet itself, not putting it on the website, so separating those two things out. The lead magnet itself, that one took longer. It took a couple of hours, but the lead magnet, it could take you 15 minutes depending on what you have access to, what softwares you're using to create the lead magnet is like And lead magnets don't have to be a PDF. Lead magnets can be a video clip of something you already recorded. So Cameron, when we talked last time about serving clients. When we say serving clients, and this is what I wanted, if we had had more time last week, is what I wanted to like call out. Um, when we say go serve people in your marketing, I do not mean go post a lead magnet, go create a lead magnet. I just wanted to be very clear on that. Like a lead magnet in and of itself does not serve your client. Serving your client is ultimately like solving their problem or getting them a piece of information that gets them one step closer to solving their problem is serving your client. A lead magnet, if it doesn't do that because you don't know that it doesn't serve them. I would like to work with a client who's doing amazing work in the community, but he is not profitable. How would you handle a pro bono or charge a fee? You could get a shout out, get a video testimonial. Does he have like be a sponsor? So like do the bookkeeping in exchange of being his like main sponsor. So if he does any t-shirts, any advertising, ultimately like he'd be advertising you as well. Um, so I would see like, does he have a newsletter? Does he have a podcast? Because then it would be sponsored by your bookkeeping business. And it would be an exchange, like there wouldn't be any physical money exchanged. I'm a huge fan if you can physically exchange money, even if it's $100. He pays you $100 for the bookkeeping, you pay him $100 for the sponsorship. You're gonna have better goodwill there between the two of you. But I would see if there's any way to be sponsored by him. So can he send you out an email? Can he put your logo on his truck? I don't know what he does, but
Yeah, I had
if
one in the
there's
beginning of my business that I did. We swapped that for because they were a brand new nonprofit, and all they did was like fundraising stuff in our community. So I did the bookkeeping for them, and every Facebook post that they had advertisement for, my logo was there. Every time they had an event, they had me as a sponsor, and I was on their website as a sponsor.
and if they put you as a website sponsor, see if you can get them to backlink it to your website. So anytime they can click on the logo and it takes them to like wherever you want them to go. Something if you can. What are some red flags that you've seen? Okay, so I guess red flags around what, Michelle? Like if they're going to be a good client, bad client, and then what makes them a good or bad client? Um,
I'll say this. I had one, and usually you can kind of tell from the beginning. And a lot of this, what is a red flag to one person may not be to another because it depends on what your boundaries are and what kind of business, like how are you trying to build your business, and things along those lines. But like if they're well, I had one who would text me at all hours of the night. I've had some that would like if a payment declined, oh, I'll pay you next week, whatever, and then they had that added up. So it was things like that. Or how are they talking to you? How are they talking to their employees? Things along those lines, because then you start to see that play out in the relationship later. Because I had one who was a very large client, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna signed him on as a client. Didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And then he wanted me to go into the office all the time. He was calling me at all hours on holidays, texting, wanted stuff right then and there. And I ended up letting him go. And it was like $3,000 a month client. But it was one of those things that it was like, okay, looking back, it's like, why didn't I realize all these things were red flags? And sometimes when they're like, oh, I had 5 other bookkeepers and they never did anything right and da da da. Sometimes it's not necessarily the bookkeeper if they've been through that many different bookkeepers. So sometimes it's just little things like that that you're paying attention to. Even hey, could we do this for a cheaper price? Or is there any way we can take something off of this and make this a little bit less? You're probably going to run into that all the time with them. And it's just paying attention to those things. So make sure you definitely want to make sure they respect your boundaries, whatever that looks like for you. So if they're expecting a response from you the same day when they send an email, and that's not how that works with your schedule or anything, they're probably not going to be a good fit. Haggling prices, not taking responsibility. Um, and then sometimes just them making you feel uneasy in the conversations, the way they're talking to their employees and stuff like that. That could go a long way. So, and then, yeah, you said, and how have you handled some of those situations? There was, so that one particular one I ended up firing. I had him for like 3 months probably, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I let him go. There was a couple who, like, I just did not even sign on as clients because when we got on the call, it just didn't feel like they were going to be a good fit because the way they were talking and the issues that they were having and things like that. And I just let them know, like, hey, this I don't think I'm going to be the right person for you. And just like politely tell them that, you know. So I don't know
Yeah,
if that answered
exactly.
all your questions. Go ahead.
You did, yeah. I was just thinking for possible red flags, to for others to hear some of your guys' experience on what you have experienced um during the proposal period as far as red flags, and then maybe once they've come on, um what red flags cause you to alter what you're doing for them or just fire them. Because I did
Yeah.
have that one client. She was very demanding, same thing, calling at all hours of the night, very accusatory on the phone. So then I stopped taking her calls and doing everything via email and writing because of what she was, the messages she was leaving. And ultimately, we ended up just letting her go. She wasn't paying her bills, but I was seeing she was convoluting her personal and business expenses. She wasn't paying her bill to me, but was taking trips to Vegas and buying $1,000 perfume. And so at that point, I was just like, you know what? You now owe me 3 months worth of service, and the contract states, so we're just gonna let you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you start to see those, like some of it, like you said, with that, it's not necessarily stuff that you see as you're having that initial conversation, but it's as you start digging into the books and stuff. So it is okay to definitely let them go, you know.
Correct.
I think that as far as like getting behind on payment, what is your policy? And then I think sometimes we don't enforce our policy. So that goes back to communication. Um, it's okay to say no.
Yeah, so my policy is very strict in the books where it says if you don't pay, we will not do work. So the first time that she said she wasn't going to pay, we told her, okay, well, we are not going to do the work until we receive the payment. And then she paid a portion, and so I kind of just I did a I did a portion of the work, and then she just got behind from there. And the contract specifically states that we're going to charge you even if you're, for those months, even if you're not paying us, because we have to do the cleanup for those months when you do pay us. But then it states after 3 months of being behind, we will cancel your service. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, most definitely.
That works. Tone, personality. I think a lot of bookkeepers aren't like, if you could spend the weekend or next week tuning into a search body language experts on YouTube. communication styles, stuff like that. Spend just a little bit of time researching body language, not just body language, like just spend some time studying how you interact with other personalities. When you see those personalities come into a discovery call, pay attention to what you will and won't like allow. Megan had kind of referenced, hey, the personality of this larger client, what they're wanting, what they're demanding. We might have been able to pick that up on a discovery call. I know I had a client similar. We left, I left like a month in, because he was over, I'm going to use the word arrogant, maybe. Just very much his like, and you could hear this because Megan, he used that phrase. Well, no other bookkeepers get this. And which can also play on like your ego if you're like, oh, well, I get it. I understand it. Thankfully that wasn't my experience with him because he was in a industry I wasn't 100% like, I didn't know inside and out. And so, but I was like, well, I could do this part if you've got people to do this other part. But that would have been a red flag. No one else understands this. And so either you can receive that as like an ego stroke, or you can say, why don't normal bookkeepers understand this? Like, what is going on here? What do you need? And can I do that? He didn't need anything complicated, actually. He was complicated, and that was what it should have kind of raised a red flag of, was he's going to be hard to please, if that makes sense. But that can come across in people who are rude. How do they talk about other people? So a question, if it's not on your discover, like your potential client list, questions for you to ask them and hear their response is if they've worked with a bookkeeper before. So like in your intake, ask, have you worked with another bookkeeper before? Yes or no. You can have them fill like a short form answer, like, why did that, why are you no longer with them? But you can also ask verbally. That way you can see their facial expressions, ask questions, see how they respond. What did you not like about them? Why did that not work out? Why are you switching bookkeepers? What do you think I can do differently than what they were doing? Just questions like that to pull out what the problem actually was. Because they'll tell you the problem if you ask statements, statement type questions like, yeah, I just read an article. Most bookkeepers don't get financials to the business owner in a timely manner. See what they say. See if, and really avoid the question. Just ask it as a statement, because they're going to want to disprove you, explain, elaborate, and it invites them to like give you more information than your questions will, like, because your questions are going to limit how much information they give you. If you can ask it in a statement form, you're going to get a wealth of information, because they're just going to give you their opinion and their story. And that will help get through some of those red flags. So especially if they've had a bookkeeper. If they haven't had a bookkeeper, start asking them what they think bookkeeping means. And that's where you're going to screen. Are they looking for an admin or someone to just handle the accounting? And how much do they know about the difference between a bookkeeper and an admin? And from there, you're going to be able to explain, no, you're a bookkeeper, not an admin. And that's where you can start saying, this is what I do, this is what I provide, and this is what you're going to find in our engagement letters. So those red flags, and this all goes back to you. If you're in control of the situation and you know what you offer, you can kind of flip it to understand who they are as a person and what type of business they're running, which is the goal. Then, based on the business you want to run, that's where your red flags are identified. We have a coach, Bonnie, she doesn't take on clients who aren't tech savvy. So her entire process is very technical, like computer driven. she wants you to be able to get her what she needs using her portals, using what she needs. And she doesn't want you to like make it harder for her. So she's using software to her advantage. She wants you to be able to use software to your advantage. That's the type of business she wants to run. So red flags for her would be if a client, and I'm presuming this, I'm guessing, I'm using an example of like what she does, and I'm making a couple of things up for this. But if she were to ask them, yeah, 80% of business owners are great at using computers, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm scared of AI. I don't use Google Drive. I don't like signing into portals, stuff like that. That's going to trigger a red flag for her. Or AI is really scary, and then they go off with how scary computers are. That might be not an ideal fit for her. How do you guys handle potentials that just want someone to teach them? I take on training clients, so that's not a red flag for me. I physically have a package that allows for that. So again, what might be a red flag for someone who doesn't offer training packages might be a red flag for someone who does. You could also have a course. You could have some sort of resource available for them where you don't have to do the training with them, but you can say, hey, I have this 5-part course. It'll teach you how to set it up, how to connect your bank feeds, how to categorize transactions, and how to reconcile. Other times it's a great way to show them how hard it actually is, and how some clients like are not tech savvy and they don't learn software fast enough to make QuickBooks easy enough to use for them. Others, they've been using software since they were in middle school. So it's really easy to learn software. So for someone like that, they really do need the training. For someone who's not software savvy, but they're like, hey, I know accounting, can you teach me this? But they don't really know as much as they think they know. You're going to do training with them, and they're going to be like, can you just do this for me? I have another client who I just went through training for. His goal with training was just to understand how it all works. So I've had two like this, how does this all work together? Can you show me enough so I know if you or someone else is doing it right? And then they become long-term clients because they're like, okay, I understand what you're doing. I understand why you're doing it that way. Can you just keep doing it? Michelle says she finds that she gets most of her clients through training packages. Yeah. My recent training one just signed another business, and he just went straight to me doing the bookkeeping for the new business. Yeah. But training doesn't have to be one-to-one. I do one-to-one type trainings and like videos depending on the client and their needs, but you can do a 5-part course or something. Cameron, I'm curious, did you turn the client away? Did you offer to train them? How did you handle it?
Yeah. So it was someone that reached out to me on Instagram. So they kind of circumvented the questionnaire, like booking a call. And as you know, my situation, I'm just trying to like get people, whatever. So like I kind of just like had the call with them, and it just had my, my going over my stuff, my script or whatever during the discovery call. And then, as I'm going over my stuff, the person like just stops me. Is like, oh, do you do trainings? And I'm like, well, I mean, that's I do done for you bookkeeping. It's not really a package that I currently offer, but I do like have and additional services, that's outside of scope of done for you, where it's like 150 an hour, where I'd be able to like try to go, to go over things with them. They didn't really like the way that was because they kind of wanted something that was more structured and streamlined. And that's just not something I do right now. So it's something I'm planning to do now because this is like I think this is the second person that's asked that. But I'm just trying to like get people under my belt and not so much like do a whole rubric of training. That's just something I'm not really trying to do, but it looks like it's something I should be looking into just to have more avenues. But I told them I gave them that price, 150 an hour, where I'd be able to, answer any questions they have. We set up like a type of office hour, and they said they were just going to think about it, and then that was kind of it. I haven't heard from them since. I've been following up with them, but haven't gotten an answer yet. Yeah.
Since you're in the like season of needing to bring income in, I would do like some sort of one pager. I think you created some sort of brochure at some point. Just add a one page to it. Here's what training looks like, and then outline what that should look like for you. However, with that said, I heard you say, well, maybe it's something I should do for additional streams. I don't know that that's true. Yes, our goal is to have multiple streams of income coming in. However, if you're split focused on where your marketing is at or what you're offering, or it gives you an excuse to talk the client down into a training package instead of a $500 a month. Like, I know you probably just heard me say that and said, oh, I'll never do that. However, if the potential client is somehow controlling the conversation under this, well, I don't know if I can afford it, or whatever position they're taking, they can talk you down if you're not actually in control of the conversation. And you might be surprised at how often the potential is in control of the conversation.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of it. So I would really challenge the thought process that you need to offer it to get a client. It's okay to say no. Keep in mind, I had just referenced, and I think we did a podcast. We talked heavily about it one day on a podcast, sometime this year, where you can just do bookkeeping and nothing more, and grow it to a significant, even part-time, but significant chunk of change, like salary wise, with doing nothing more than just basic bookkeeping. So I just wanted to challenge your feeling like you have to. But obviously, like me, Megan, we do training. Michelle does training, and some of our clients come from that. So it's like an elongated discovery process. Other times it might not be worth it. Like,
And Cameron, in the beginning of my business, not feeling confident enough, I guess I should say, in doing the bookkeeping to do a training, it felt like I don't know if I could do a training. What the way I would handle it then is I would set QuickBooks up for them, get a feel for their books, record a video and send that over to them as a training. So it doesn't have to be like a live training or anything like that. If that feels like you're not comfortable with that yet. Now, of course, like I've been doing it long enough, I do them differently. But in the beginning, that's how it was. The training was a recorded video of their books doing it.
Yeah, I mean, when I say I have to, I just like mean just have another way of helping people, like for me to say no sucks, because it's like I barely get leads. So now I'm just like throwing this, but that's why I didn't want to just say no. I wanted to just try to like keep some type of a door open. And it might be something I probably should have anyway. Like I already have like videos of me going over stuff and putting that stuff on YouTube, or I at least have that like as a reference point, instead of just saying like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason. And that's like the also reason why.
You could make this your lead magnet.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a quarterly training. And so instead of like there being a lead magnet, it would be sign up for this like 5-day clean up your QuickBooks or learn QuickBooks training. Or 3-day or 1-day Saturday training, Saturday morning or something. And then that morning training, you can split up into like 5 emails, and then that could be your lead magnet.
Mm-hmm.
My challenge was just sometimes saying no to the things that are distractions are going to more quickly build your client base of recurring monthly bookkeeping clients that you're looking for. Both are good because my training people are monthly reoccurring clients. So like I still do a year-long training package with them, and I set it up very specifically. That way I'm meeting with them. I mean, I don't meet with them every month in the year. So there are ways to do that as well, if you want to be one-on-one or if you want to offer a workshop. And it
I
could be a
find
paid
for
workshop.
me, I find for me that doing one-on-one with a client is really what earns their business, because it shows that I am I'm confident in what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing. So typically my training packages, I offer two, but where I get most of my clients from is telling them, look, you're trying to learn QuickBooks, and you can go through all the videos and try to figure it out that way, or you can sign up and get a more personalized package where I get access to the books, I'm going through the books, and then I'm recording training videos for you, which are specifically related to you, your business, and what you're doing in your business. And then I just record those videos, put them in my portal under their resources tab so that they have them to look back on and they're not getting lost in the email. But that also allows me to charge a little bit more, because now I'm presenting myself as the expert, and I'm saving them time by not having to go through all that training when the training is very specific for them and lies in their resources tab of their portal.
Yeah, that definitely. I was just trying to, so Michelle, you do a lot of in-person networking, a lot of one-to-one anyway. Cameron is doing a lot trying to reach. The way he's using Facebook isn't as one-to-one as he's communicated in past podcasts. So I was trying to help, like he asked last time and this time about lead magnets. And then he wants to be on social media, all of those things. So I was trying to streamline how he could solve that while still building that higher, just based on like Cameron's, what he has told us on different podcasts as we've talked. But yeah, absolutely. Because building that authority, that expertise, in the one-to-one makes it easier. So for the client that I have, he's doing one client with training. His other client, he just was like, yeah, you could just do all the setup and do all of that. That's great. You do have that authority, that rapport with him, directly. My only concern with it is if you're not charging enough for it, it can definitely take up a lot of time. If you get into this trap of, like, if you're not just doing training and you're not strong enough to say no, the red flag that comes in is, oh, well, I really need these financials, but I don't have time to go reconcile, or I don't understand the security deposit or whatever. And now you're actually doing the bookkeeping. Because you're like, oh, it'll be really quick. You're really tiny. I'll just go do this for you. And then you start doing it every month. And you don't realize that you are doing the bookkeeping when you're supposed to just be doing training. So it's really just a boundary issue to caution against. Well, good questions. Okay, we covered a lot of red flags, Megan. Oh, I missed the question I'm quoting.
Yeah, Belita, I would probably take that and put it in our quoting calculator and see what you quoted, or I don't know what you quoted this client already. But take it, put it in there and see where it comes out, and then figure out how you need to adjust. I don't know what the difference is going to come out to be. I'm assuming based on your response that you just have like a set monthly rate and that's what you charged. So I'm assuming like not tiers or anything like that. It's just one rate and like 300 a month. Everybody's at 300 a month. But I'm just assuming based on the conversation. All right, does anybody else have any questions? All right, well, we will see y'all next week. Thank y'all. Bye.